Wayne, what up? Thanks. Joel. Watermelon Man. Irby. What uni? What's a uni? I mean I can play Snarky. I don't know any specific songs. I maybe know like one song from them. Ironically, I've got almost all of their albums and um, as well as what's the name of these guys? Ghost Note. I know the sound guy. The guitarist, not Lettieri, the other guy, because they have two guitars. But the other guy was roommates with a guitarist friend of mine in Jersey. I used to be in a band with. I met Snarky Puppy before they were like famous. They came to Atlanta. They came down here to Atlanta. When they were nobodies. The guy who you was Janet Jackson's drummer. He played for Janet Jackson. He played for Earth, Wind, and Fire. He played for Jill Scott. He got a baby by Jill Scott. Right now, he teaches at Berkeley. He's been there for like 2 years, but he lived down here in Atlanta, and I'm like, hey, he's sitting in this bar. He's got a. I tell this story all the time. He's got a green mohawk, and he's sitting at the bar, drinking a beer. I want to say he was drinking a Beck's. Yeah, because back then I used to drink Beck's. Yeah, because you notice stuff like that. So he's drinking a beer, and he goes, I'm like, John, what up, man? He's like, yo, what up, Mark? He's like, get me here, Snarky Puppy. I said, nope. He's like, well, you're about to hear him tonight. I'm like, all right. So I see a bunch of guys come in. I see this percussionist. He's bringing in his congas and his bongos and blah, 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 bell trees and stuff. So thank you, Wayne. So check it out. Check it out. So I see guys bringing stuff in, and then I see. Oh, it was just it wasn't Spud. It was a different drummer. Their original drummer was another guy. Um, but when they started playing, it literally was like there was an old commercial, an old Sony commercial, where the guy would be sitting in the chair and the speaker would be right there and the music would be blowing and like his hair would be blown back as if the music was blowing his hair back. That's how it felt. I'm bald, of course, but if I had hair, that's how I felt. It would like it was insane. I was like, oh, this is it. I don't know who these guys are. I met them all. They were asking me for gigs. I was like, I don't know where I could get a band like you guys some gigs, but whatever. Um, Later on, the guy who ran the open jam, it's a legendary open jam. It's still going on in Atlanta. But um, the guy, I can't remember his name. Kevin Scott, that's his name. Kevin Scott, he's a bassist. Um, the Mike League, the bass player for Snarky Puppy, um, he was also playing in Fork, a band called Fork. Well, that was in between albums. They went back, and I can't remember the name of the album. It's in the tip of my brain. I see the album cover, but they went back to record that album, to record and promote that album. So, and at the time, Fork was doing an album. So, my friend Kevin, he's on that album. He played on that album, and he took Mike League's place. I mean, a lot of dudes, man. Like another guy, that's in the scene. I've played a couple gigs with him and hung out with him, and he's a good dude. Um, and I still gotta. I was gonna. I asked him. I was like, his name is Kevin Williams. I was like, yo, man, what are you gonna charge me to play on my stuff? He was like, just send me the music. I'm not gonna charge you. Just send it over. I said, all right, cool. But he plays with. He was the original sax player for Drumhead's Chris Dave's band. Um, I didn't even know. I thought he was just a local guy. I didn't know who he was playing for. So Atlanta's got there's some people down here. But yeah, Snarky Puppy. I remember when they first, when nobody knew, and it was crazy because their sound guy ended up marrying a chick I go to church with. And as a matter of fact, I don't want to tell. That's his business. I don't. That's personal. That's his business. But yeah, he's a good dude. He's a real good dude. He's always on the road with those guys. But yeah. So yeah, I'd love to play for Snarky Puppy. That seemed like it would be fun. But there's certain things. It would have to be a summer tour because that's it. I got a kid in college. I got a kid in high school. I got two kids in middle school. So I can't be that far for that long. You know. I don't know how he does it. He's married with two little boys, so they probably arrange that stuff though. He's been with them for so long. They arrange it so. The Rev, Jimmy. I don't know, man. I think he was that hurt when he died, man. That really hurt. I stopped listening to him when he died. When I stopped listening to what he called it, I can't remember the name of the band. I stopped listening to him when he died, because that's part of the reason why I would listen to the music. I was like, this guy's singing, he's playing, he's writing some of the stuff and it's effortless. He had that. He kind of reminded me. He was like a metal version of Phil Collins. Um, you know what I mean? Like he sang, he wrote stuff, and he played drums well. You know, guys like that, as they get older, they start moving into other fields. Had had Jimmy Sullivan lived, he would have. I don't know, man. He would be doing. I could have. I liked him because he was bigger than playing drums and singing. He was so much bigger that he was singing and writing stuff. He was so much more than a drummer. You know what I mean? Usually, there's the drummers who just do this, and that's all they do. And then the drummers who they become producers, they become songwriters, they become, they become the guy who, if the band breaks up, you don't worry about him because he's got a plethora of stuff. He's doing film scores. Jimmy was one of those kind of guys. You know what I mean? The eventual outcome. Me being 59 years old, I definitely could have seen him. Because life when you get older, life kind of stretches out in front of you, and you're like, oh. I see where he could have been, and it's hard because, when you see somebody younger coming up and you see they got it all, and as effortless as Rev kind of had it, it's hard to see stuff like that go. It's hard, and I know that game. I know that whole addiction game. I was there, on the same stuff, heroin. It was, I came up during what would be called the grunge era, although we didn't call it grunge, we called it alternative. Grunge was just something somebody else made up. like, you know, we were playing with bands like Big Nurse, all kinds of like, you know, I hate that term grunge, but they were alternative bands, you know. Um, went on a bunch of tours, you know, saw a lot, experienced a lot. On the one hand, I hate that I am a hard-headed learner, and I have to actually experience it and burn my hand to realize that that's not good for you. But it made me a stronger person. There are things, and it took somebody else to tell me that. He said, man, there are things that you've gone through that most people couldn't. They'd come out maimed or like, you know, sexually confused or something. Like, I don't know how you came out of it the way you are. And, you know, I don't know. I know how. Not to get religious, but God. I'm getting used to this. I'm just getting used to this whole double bass thing. It's just weird. Last time I played double bass was probably 2015. I can only take these in ears so much. There we go. My good men. I fried my hip flexor earlier today. Just it was either that or fall with a possible broken bone. So I caught myself, but I caught myself at an awkward angle and overflexed my hip flexor tendon. I've done it before. It feels like your hip is dislocated. It's really painful. I've done it before. I had it. It happened when I used to play football, and it happened another time when I used to, back in the day, I used to be I used to be a BMX freak. You know, I had the half pipe in the backyard with the quarter pipe on the side and the kick ramps, and I had like a huge, like 8 foot. All the skaters would go there. It was like a few BMXers. Later on, BMXers kind of found out, and I'm a BMXer, so it's kind of like a lot of the skaters got chased off. You know, the skaters that really knew me, like I went to high school with, like, 'cause this was in high school. The skaters I was in high school with, that I went to school with, they stayed, but the other ones, like, cousin Frank and them, like, you know what I mean, they kind of didn't, BMXers we're kind of rowdy, so. But yeah, I was trying. I had a deck. It was 8 feet. It was 8 feet tall, and the deck was up against the side of my garage. But I pulled a three fly out, expecting to land on the deck. I over rotated and smacked right into the wall. And the house I grew up in was a brick wall. I mean, it was a brick house, a red brick house. So I literally smacked into a brick wall and felt my hip go bing. I was like, oh, Lord. I thought it was broke. They took x-rays. They were like, well, you bruised the socket. So I've done some damage to this hip. So. Like, this is the wall. This is the wall. I literally did the three, then over-rotated, and by the time somehow the front of the bike made it, and this is the wall. It went bang! So I hit midair. I hit the wall, So I pulled the three, killed my hip, but pulled the three. Well, I didn't kill my hip, bruised it. I gotta get my calves re-engaged. Watch how fast I get proficient at double bass. It's not gonna take long. It's something I do, but I gotta actually prove it before people would actually, what? How'd you do that? It's really simple. It's something basic. the kind of stuff you gotta split your brains into 4 quadrants, man. Ugh. Well, into a quadrant. You know, oy, oy. I usually just mess around like that until it feels comfortable. And then I play it to a metronome slowly to clean it up, and you know. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, I'm sorry. I should be reading the chat. I mean, you know what I mean? I should be reading the chat. Says, Kenton, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Took a lot of work. Took a lot of, what do I sound like? And then listen to the phone and be like, nope. And then go back in and tweak everything in the box and then record it again. And then listen to the phone. Nope. You know what I mean? I literally had to mix for the phone. That's the trick. I don't care if their stuff sounds nice, it's because they're doing the same thing. They're mixing for the phone. And it doesn't work with earbuds. You got to use the phone speakers. I used phone speakers. I used Android because iPhone speakers are way better. Androids have gotten better, but I use an Android that's like a really cheap one. You know, because if you can make the audio sound nice on a really, really cheap one, it's going to sound nice on phones with better, you know, audio. Let me see. Leo, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm working on it, man. I'm working on it. I'm kind of I'm not on my A game right now. I'm kind of like on a C plus B game. You know, I just went through a whole. If you'd have caught me early in the summer, I was smoking because I was always playing. You know, right now I'm just burnt out, man. Really, I'm just burnt out. You know. You mean the Mozambique that kids been Afro-Cuban cats been playing for thousands of years? You mean Mozambique named after Mozambique? It's not Gads. You know, give it to the rightful owners, man, the Cubans.
And he really got upset with her because she had to know about kids.
It's weird because had I not given that kind of the pulse behind it, it sounded kind of off. Now it sounds like it makes sense because I've given a kind of rhythmic reference. It even makes more sense to me because I was kind of getting lost playing it. I had the idea, but I was kind of getting lost, so I had to kind of give myself some kind of time reference because you know what I mean. You're playing. Most times you're not playing in 3/4. You know what I mean. You're playing in 4/4. So I play in. No, I'm not gonna say that. In practice, I play more in 5s and 7s. When I'm rehearsing with the unit I'm with, the most I'll play is, a waltz. You know. So yeah, that's the most I'm doing. Like I'm just playing like this stuff. Like we might change the groove. Like we've done this. We did one song that's kind of like a 6/8 jazz waltz, and well, it's 3/4. Same thing. 3/4 and 6/8 are technically the same thing. Well, they are the same thing, but technically not really. It went from this. It went from that to this. Which is what I like about the unit I'm with now. What's my opinion on Neil Peart? Neil Peart taught me how to play drums. I learned every Rush album from. I even learned the one that John Rutsey was playing on. I learned the Neil Peart version of that because they would cover those songs. The only way I know those versions is because when I was growing up, it closed in like the mid to late '90s. But there was a spot. There was two spots. There was a spot in Belmar that sold bootleg vinyl, and there was a spot. If you're at Times Square, it's a famous picture. You're standing here. I can't remember what it's called. There's like a giant jumbotron there, and there's a street that goes that way and a street that goes that way. It's famous in Times Square. Well, that jumbotron, under that jumbotron, if you're going to the left, about like 2 stores down, there was a vinyl shop that sold the rarest vinyl. And they sold bootlegs. And I got bootlegs of Neil's drum solos. I know All the World's a Stage solo. I know Exit Stage, yeah, All the World's a Stage. A lot of people don't know about that. They know about Exit Stage Left. They don't know about All the World's a Stage. I know the bootleg drum solos. I know Neil's bootleg drum solos. He was doing way more stuff than All the World's a Stage was a good recorded night. There's some nights where you hear Raw Rush, them dudes was like ripping, bro. I'm telling you, the raw stuff, but it was raw. You know what I mean? You want stuff that it sounds as true to the recording as possible. That's the stuff you want to put out as a live album. Unless you have a fan base that is down with the keeping it raw and gritty live. Like there's certain bands, like my cousin, Corey Glover, he was the lead singer for Living Color. They very much went by the punk, almost like a punk. They were lumped into metal, but they have more in common with punk than metal. Like, they were really punk. They just bottled them as a black heavy metal group, but they were really punk. Their live shows would be played at breakneck speeds, just like punk rock guys. You know what I mean? So a lot of guys kind of, like if you hear their live stuff, it's insanely fast. But a lot of guys did that. The Chili Peppers used to do that. They play the live stuff really, really fast. I don't think they do it now. They're old now. But just to rage out. So, some bands, it's kind of like, but most bands, they, like Rush, they want it true to the recording. But their bootlegs were ridiculous. I learned all the hemispheres. I learned all them 19-minute songs. I learned 2112 front and back. I learned Caress of Steel front and back. I learned Fly By Night front and back. I learned Permanent Waves front and back. I learned Signals front and back. I learned all the World's a Stage and Moving Pictures front and back. I learned Chutes and Ladders front and back. I learned everything from Rush that they put out, even the bootlegs that most people don't know, up into Chutes and Ladders. That's a lot of music. That's why I tell people when they ask me about Neil Peart, I'm like, he taught me how to play drums. Him, John Bonham, and a few other people. Bonham could have easily been. He could have been. Like, if Bonham was American, he would have been playing with Steely Dan. Definitely. He definitely would have been playing with Steely Dan. Mitch Mitchell, he was a freak of nature. I'm going to jump out here and say something. You guys may not like it. Mitch Mitchell would poo on Ginger Baker. Sorry. I'm sorry. Ginger Baker ain't got nothing on Mitch Mitchell. Mm-mm. Mitchell, I tell people this all the time. Mitch Mitchell was a hired gun. He was like a 17-year-old hired gun. He was a studio guy, 17 years old. And he just got like the opportunity. Everybody knew him. They knew he was like this drumming prodigy. And they said, hey, man, you want to play with this guy? You know, he's putting a band together, blah, blah, blah. He knew Chaz Chandler, you know, just from being in the business. And everybody knew Mitch. They knew he was like, he was almost like John Paul Jones. John Paul Jones came from a musical family, and he was a studio guy. But Mitch was younger. He was like 16, 17. He played on a lot of television stuff. So when he got with Hendrix, he was just like seasoned, man. Which is why after the Jimi Hendrix Experience broke up, then he started Band of Gypsies. But if you notice, after Band of Gypsies, he started Gypsy Sons and Rainbow, which included Billy Cox, but Buddy Miles wasn't there. Mitch was in his place. Mitch was a jazz guy, bro, and that was the obvious direction Hendrix was going, which is part of the reason why he got Mitch. Mitch played with the intensity of a rock and roll guy, but the technique of the consummate jazz guy. Let me see. Two of the most underrated drummers, Ringo Starr and Alex Van Halen. My whole snare tone comes from Alex Van Halen. Alex was dope, man. The thing about Alex is he had his own style. And it's easy to say, well, he sucks, but do you have your own style? Most drummers sound like every other. Like, if you hear Alex, you know it's him. That's hard. That's not easy. Most drummers sound like each other. Alex, if you took Alex and put him on another drum set, he plays so uniquely, you'd know it was Alex. Same thing with Eddie. People would pick up Eddie Van Halen's guitar thinking they're gonna sound like Eddie Van Halen, and they don't. I've seen Eddie Van Halen play other guitars, but he still sounds like Eddie Van Halen, which means it's not the guitar, it's the fingers. It's the same thing with drums, man. It's guys like Stuart Copeland. When you hear him, from the Police, when you hear him, you know it's him. Manu Katché, same thing. Phil Collins, same thing. Guys who Bonham, same thing. You know what I mean? Tony Williams, same thing. Even Bill Bruford, not really. He would do this all the time. But there's some contributions, not on the performance side, on the arrangement side, in terms of innovation, like he was one of the first guys to use electric drums and what have you. And he has a vast knowledge of drums and just rhythm, in general. Bill Bruford. Then you got Billy Cobham, who came to America from Panama. His family in Panama made drums. He came to America, went to, they were like, put your kid in the Manhattan School of Arts or whatever, you know what I mean? So he went there. It was him. It was Chick Corea. It was Lenny White. It was him, Chick Corea, Lenny White. Who else? Couple other people. Herb Albert? No. Chuck Mangione. Chuck Mangione and his brother. They all went to school together. The School of Performing Arts. I found that out because my boy Ron Barnes actually went to school with Marcus Miller. And Chick Corea and all those, they were quite a few years before them. But my homeboy, he graduated from the School of Performing Arts with Marcus Miller, with a bunch of people, actually, with a couple people. But he studied business and like music, administration, music, just the business of music. He studied the business side of music. He's rich now. But yeah, he's a wild dude too. want to gain speed and power, play to a metronome. This is what you do. Because my weak hand is my right hand. Don't overdo it because I almost blew out my arm trying to make it as fast as my left, and it's still not as fast as my left. So, but it's pretty close. It's pretty close. But a way to build speed and power is this: just play basic metronomes to a metronome very lightly. It's nothing special. It's literally this. Just do that and keep playing that at just about that fast until you're able to literally move the sticks with your fingers and not your wrists. I'm telling you. This sounds like some weird, I'm sending you down a rabbit hole, but in all sincerity, doing that saved my playing. Like, I'm looking in the camera. Doing that saved my playing. Doing exactly that. It's nothing special. If you sit there with a practice pad, and you put on some earbuds, I got an iPhone. Well, they got Metrophones. Matter of fact, I got a pair behind me. They have what's called Metrophones. They're headphones with a metronome in them. And you can have a line in. And you can use them as drum headphones. Like you can use them as like, you can use them to record with. They're sound isolating. You can set the tempo, and while you're listening to something, like you can have a line to your phone, or you're watching whatever. But you could be watching something. You could be watching Netflix on your phone, just like this, with a metronome beeping in your head. Do that until you can get up to about an hour. Matter of fact, do that until you can get up to about an hour and a half to 2 hours. Just do it every day, as long as possible. And before you're able to do that at that pace for an hour, you will feel the difference. Your playing will shoot through the roof, and you're going to be like, wow, that dude was actually right. I'm telling you, bro. If you just do this, I'll give you 3 weeks, bro. Every day for 3 weeks. Half hour every day for 3 weeks. I bet your playing changes. I bet you. Bet you any amount of money. If I could, and I'm not a betting dude, I'm telling you, that's how you do it. That's the secret that nobody wants to say it. Like, how do you get speed? It's don't play fast. Play slow. You can't play fast until you know how to play slow. It's weird, but the slower you can actually play consistently for a long period of time, the faster you can play. The lighter the tap you use, when you're warming up or whatever you're doing hand exercises, the lighter the tap you use, the more power you can use. You know what I mean? I could have broke that stick. But that's what it is, bro. I'm telling you. Without power, you can't gain power. You can't gain power. The only way you can gain power is if you. It's like the only way you can roar is if you learn to whisper. That's the only way I can put it. The only way you can roar is if you learn how to whisper. You know? Sorry, guys. Um, no, I was saying I really would like to have. I probably can find a Brian May guitar. There was for a while there was May guitars in the '80s. He came out with a guitar. Um, Thinking back, I'm like, really, it's in his fingers. It's not his guitar. Brian May sounds like Brian May no matter what he plays. So, yeah. Oh, one of my favorite guitarists is Alan Halsworth of all time. You know, a lot of people say, "Oh, Eddie Van Halen." Well, Eddie Van Halen said he's the best. So, you know, Eddie Van Halen was such a Alan Halsworth fanatic that he got Alan a record deal with Warner Brothers, bro. With Ted Templeton. Um, I think I think I want to say Ted executive produced Alan's album, that one album, Road Games, and after that he went indie again. Um, I tell people this all the time. Like, as far as influence away from the kit, it's got to be Alan Halsworth, hands down. You know, he was musically illiterate, you know, but he was just as much as a genius as James Brown. You know, he was like the James Brown of guitar, if you could kind of like, he's completely musically illiterate. You know, and all his life he admittedly was trying to imitate a saxophone because he wanted to learn how to play the saxophone, but his father couldn't afford one, so his father got him a guitar. And you know, that's part of the whole when he came up with the syntax, and there was a tube that he put in his mouth that he could kind of blow into it. That was to give him a feeling of actually playing a saxophone, man. You know, that's a lot of the reason why he got his tone, everything. So, you know, turn my mic off. Swipe away, bro. I'm gonna talk if I feel like talking. Yo, why are you calling me a simpleton? If we were face to face, you wouldn't say that. You know you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't. You know you wouldn't. Yo. Yo, what color you got? Oh, yo, no, what color's your kit, bro? And what do you think about the snare? I don't like the snare, man. I don't know why. I don't like them, man. Oh, same color? Okay. I don't like the snares, man. I don't know, man. I got a pearl right here. This is a pearl export snare. I got another pearl snare over here. Oh, sorry, right here. This, my neighbor was about to throw it away. I was like, what? You can throw it my way. So, but even that snare is better than this. I use it as an auxiliary snare. Ah, I thought about that, changing the head. I'll do that. It sounds great as a low tune auxiliary snare, though. Either it's that or I got a cheap CAD snare mic on here. You know, it was just a something lying around. I actually put it there because I just was like, I got another snare stand. Let me mic it up. And then I just went in my mic lock and I found that old. I gave a guy a set of drum mics. And I took the snare one. I took the snare one in exchange for a podcast mic. I said, here, use that one. And he was like, when we got SM57s, I was like, excuse me. I said, well, you're good then. But I kept the snare because I knew something was like, you're gonna need you're gonna need another mic for a snare. Something just told me that. So then, when I got this kit, I liked this snare so much. I tried this one. It sounded like trash, so I said I'll just use it as auxiliary snare, and then whatever. But it sounds great. Sounds really good. Really? So you didn't even leave the stock reso head. You changed everything. Okay. Yeah, man. Cause I had some Evans on my old kit. I used to have a red kit. I had the black Evans ones on them. Dang, I might go there. Yeah, that's a good idea. I like the other the snares, the sound whatever sound pure sounds. I like those snares. I hate having to get used to this new pedal now. I'm so used to my old one. Really? Really? Yeah. Cause yeah, I'm rocking the same thing. The stock heads. They sound great with the stock heads, bro. And usually I change them out with Evans and everything, but I left the stock heads on there. They sound great. Um, of course, I put the what do you call it? Kick port and all of that stuff. I have another drum head. I really want to get an Evans. One of them calfskin chumpies. You know, give it a nice bebop look. You know, but it's still I like it because I could use it as a bebop kit and a breakbeat kit. So you know, which before I got this one, I actually had a breakbeat kit. It was two rack toms, two floor toms. This floor tom is from that one over there. Um, but it's 10, 12, 13, 16, and a 16 kick drum. That's like that was somebody gave me this, man. A guitarist gave me this. Um, he he was moving. He had no place to put it, and he was like, "Yo, man," like he's like one of my best friends. So he was like, "Hey, man, I'm moving. You know, who better to give it to than you?" So he gave me the shell pack. I had the cymbals and everything, and I had the snare, but he just gave me the shell pack, you know. Yeah, yeah. Wow. I got a 12-inch tom right over there. Before, when I originally set this up, it was I had a 10 here and a 12 for my other kid. And I was like, I'd rather leave it. It's kind of like this stripped down version. You know, anything you can do on a small kit, you can do on a big kit. But everything you do on a big kit, you can't do on a small kit. The small kit's small. It's got less pieces. It's got less pieces of sound. You learn something on a small kit, you get on a big kit, you're all over. I learned that the hard way. I started off with big old Neil Peart drum set, and then try to play a little jazz kit, a little bebop kit, and was like, I just kept it here. Couldn't do anything else. Ow! I'm sorry. No, I was saying everything you do on a small kit, you can do the same thing on a big kit. But everything you do on a big kit, you can't always do it on a small kit because the big kit has so many options, so many. You try to play it on a small kit, you got to strip it down. You know, but which is why I play this setup right here instead of like the full, you know, because this is, I learned that the hard way, man. Like I went to a spot. I used to have this big giant double bass, three floor toms, three rack toms, three toms here, three toms here, three floor toms, double bass, cymbals everywhere. I didn't have a xylophone. I had to like the thing that from high school that it was a music school. Yeah, I bought a cheap one. It was like ding 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 ding. I was like, I'm gonna be just like Neil Peart, And then I got really 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 good because I just obsessed over it. Um, and then I sat in, and the guy had he had one up, one down, snare, ride, crash, hi hat. That's it. And I just kept it here because I didn't. There was no all the stuff, the vocabulary I had accumulated. I couldn't use it on a smaller kit, you know. So, and a lot of times I'm trying out stuff on a small kit. Um, like if I can execute it on, I'm trying out whenever I do gigs, it's usually a bigger kit. Like if I'm at church or something, it's a way bigger kit, you know. But I usually learn stuff on a smaller kit. Even though this is a lot for me, in terms of a small kit. It's usually this, this, that, and crash. Sometimes just this, sometimes just that, or just this, and this. That's it, and this, of course. Um, so you know, um, but when I'm doing gigs, man, I have a lot of my drum sets. The drum sets I play on gigs tend to be bigger, so I like to kind of handicap myself in some kind of way. I know it is a lot of nothing, saying a lot of nothing. Yeah, dude, it took me a long time to learn that. Yo, bro, I used to have toms way up here. That's how guys blow out their shoulders, man. I literally was just about to say that. Like, you notice how all this stuff is set up? It's set up so I'm able to hit everything. Everything has its own space. It's not too cramped and crowded. Everything has its own space. It gives your arms, you know, like room to move around. The toms, man, you put them up here, bro. It's, you run the risk of doing this, then you're going through sticks. You know, you want it just, like you look at guys in marching band. They're like the guys who play quads or quints. It's just like right here, bro. They're just, that's really how you want your kit to not. It doesn't have to be necessarily flat, but you want it really low, so it doesn't take much for you to, to hit whatever you're trying to hit. Number one, number two, that's how you develop economy of movement. I don't care how they look to everybody else. I care about how I can comfortably reach everything, man. Like like even one of my all-time favorite drummers, Neil Peart. Unfortunately, died of cancer, R.I.P. But unfortunately, he had to stop playing because his shoulders went bad. He blew out his shoulders. So that's from this. And it's common, bro. It's very common. Thank you, thank you. Keep everything low, man. Every once in a while, I'll put a symbol up like this. Hold on. Just for the vibe. So this is just it's a classic kind of 70s kind of. to go. I got to go now. Wait, what was that? I got to go now. Thank you, bro. I'll be back on today, man. I'm just checking on the kids and about to get something to eat. Dang, I should have ordered some burgers. Dang, man. Oh, my man's. Oh, bro. Your hairline, my brother. You got them braids to hide them. Man, you're going bald, my dude. You want to just do the same thing I did, shave it off. I had to cut the dreads off, y'all. Had to. Brandon, thank you for the sub, my man.